Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something that connects every single one of us, feelings. We're going to look at how to move past those simple, basic words you learn at first and start expressing yourself in real, natural-sounding English. So, let's get right into it.
Does this sound familiar to you? Somebody asks, "Hey, how are you?" And that automatic answer just pops out. I'm fine, even when you're feeling so much more than just fine. You know, it's a super common thing for language learners, and it can almost feel like you're not showing people the real you.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. The goal here is to give you the tools, the actual words and phrases, to talk about your emotions in a way that feels clear and, most importantly, natural. Because when you can do that, your conversations become so much more real, and you connect with people on a totally different level.
So, let's kick things off with a feeling we all love to talk about, happiness. But as you're about to see, happiness isn't just one single color. It's this whole beautiful spectrum of positive emotions. All right, so here's our starting point. Happy. It's a great word, don't get me wrong, but it's really just the beginning. English has this incredibly rich vocabulary for all the different kinds of joy out there, and we're about to explore it.
So check out the different levels here. Glad is sort of soft and sincere, perfect for everyday stuff, like saying, "I'm so glad you could make it." Excited has that energy of looking forward to something. Thrilled is a huge step up from that. It's like being very excited. And then you have over the moon, which is just pure bubbling over joy, like you could just about take off and fly. And then there's grateful. This one is so special because it connects happiness to kindness and appreciation. It's a deeper kind of feeling that makes you stop and notice all the good things in your life. Saying something like, "I'm so grateful for my family," just creates such a powerful, positive vibe.
Now these phrases, this is the good stuff. This is what you'll actually hear people say in casual conversations. Saying "I'm proud of myself" is such a wonderful way to acknowledge your own hard work. And a phrase like "that made my day" is so expressive. It tells someone that their small action brought you a huge amount of joy.
Of course, let's be real. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, right? Knowing how to talk about things like sadness or stress or frustration, well, that's just as important for making those real connections. So let's look at how to navigate these trickier feelings.
Okay, this right here is a really important cultural tip. A lot of the time in English, people will use softer, maybe more indirect ways to talk about difficult emotions. It's sort of a way of being gentle while still being honest about how you feel. And learning these little nuances is a huge key to sounding more natural.
And this chart illustrates that point perfectly. See, instead of a really direct, "I'm sad," you're much more likely to hear, "I'm feeling down." Instead of "I'm angry," a softer phrase like, "that really bothers me," is super common. It gets the feeling across without being too intense or confrontational. Let's dig into some specific words. Upset is a really flexible one. It can mean you're sad, or frustrated, or even a little disappointed. Heartbroken, on the other hand, is much, much deeper. That's a word you save for a really profound loss. And disappointed? Well, that's a very mature, realistic word for when your hopes just don't quite line up with reality.
Man, these words feel like they were made for modern life, don't they? Stressed out is that classic feeling of just having way too much pressure on you. But overwhelmed is a step beyond that. It's when you feel like you have too much to handle in your head. Burned out is when you've hit a wall. You're just completely exhausted, emotionally and physically. And fed up? That's a great informal one for when you've just had it. You're done.
Okay, so we've looked at the highs and we've looked at the lows. But what about that peaceful, quiet space in between? Let's talk about the language of feeling calm and balanced. You know, being calm doesn't mean you're feeling nothing at all. It's actually a really rich emotional state on its own. You can feel peaceful or relaxed. A great one to have in your back pocket is at ease. It means you feel totally comfortable, no pressure. And of course, there's chill, which is a super common, informal way to say you're just feeling easygoing.
And what's cool is that calm isn't just a state of being. It can also be an action. To unwind is that whole process of intentionally relaxing after you've been tense. It really shows that peace is something you can actively create for yourself.
I love these phrases. They just feel so comforting. Take it easy is something you can say to someone else, but also about yourself. Feeling centered or grounded means you feel emotionally stable, like your feet are firmly on the ground. And "I'm taking it one day at a time." That's just such a wise, gentle way to talk about getting through a tough stretch. So far, we've pretty much focused on expressing our own feelings. But communication is a two-way street, right? A huge part of it is understanding and responding to how other people feel. And that's where empathy comes in. And here's the best part. You do not need some huge, complicated vocabulary to show someone you care. This little three-step process is so simple and so powerful. First, you just acknowledge what they said with something like, "I'm so sorry to hear that." Then you validate their feeling. Show them you get it with, "That must be so hard." And finally, you offer support with that simple, beautiful phrase, "I'm here for you."
These little phrases are like magic. They show that you are really, truly listening. Saying, "I know what you mean," can create an instant connection. And hey, remember, empathy isn't just for sad stuff. Sharing in someone's joy with a big, enthusiastic, "I'm so happy for you," is every bit as important.
Wow, okay, we have covered a lot of ground. The highs, the lows, the calm, and how to connect with others. Now let's bring it all together with this idea of emotional fluency. Because let's be honest, real life is messy. It's rarely just one simple emotion. Sometimes you have mixed feelings about a big life change. Sometimes you are torn between two different options. And some of the most powerful memories are bittersweet, both happy and sad at the exact same time. Using phrases like these shows a really high level of emotional awareness.
And this right here is what this has all been leading up to. Emotional fluency. It's not just about knowing grammar and vocabulary. It's about using the language to express who you really are, with clarity and with kindness. Because that is the foundation for any true human connection.
And please, if you take one thing away from our time together today, let it be this. When you're speaking, especially about your feelings, your sincerity matters so much more than perfect grammar. The real goal isn't to sound perfect, it's to sound like you.
So I'll leave you with this question, this little challenge. Using what we've talked about, what's just one real feeling you can share with someone today? Because remember, every single time you do that, you're not just practicing a few words, you're building a connection. Thanks so much for joining me.